Hello, welcome to SFLiberalBuzz. This show will be in honor of veterans, and I have two veterans here with me as guests, and they're members of Axis of Love as well. Axis of Love received awards for their service in the community. We're very proud. Three veterans groups bestowed 3 awards upon us. I mean, well, one for each group, I suppose. And so that's great. We are very proud to have Tom Bernheim and
Hello.
Sandra Bacon. And you can tell them what your ranks were when we start talking.
I was PFC, private first class. I was stationed in Germany, and then sent back to stateside. I was in Georgia, Rapid Deployment Force.
All right. Well, thank you for your service.
This was back in the 80s when there was a gas shortage.
Yes, please
A
announce.
rally Monday, Veterans Day at City Hall, promptly at 4:20. We're going to offer compassion to needy veterans. Compassion is a medical cannabis that they can use for ailments from post-traumatic shock or lack of appetite, lack of sleep, insomnia, whatever. Anyway, it's at City Hall at 4:20 Monday, November 11th, and hope to have a nice group show up.
Urge you all to be there. City Hall steps, that's on the Polk Street side. Well, we're glad that on BNC that went down. BNC went down, that's great. I'm just going through the news since I saw you last, which was 3 weeks ago since we had a show. We had an extra week with Halloween in there. And it was a bad week for civil rights. Can't sleep in the park anymore. So there's Jim Crow laws for MCDs also. The Excelsior, it's limited to, John Avalos. You can see it on Axis of Love TV. I can't really go into it too much, but John Avalos, you probably heard in the news, has limited MCDs from opening anymore in the Excelsior. So, we've got, I went to jury duty, and I learned about, thought maybe something about jury nullification, so always keep that in mind when you do jury duty. And Shona right now, another news flash is Shona of Axis of Love is working on a resolution to ensure a discount on cannabis for veterans. So we'll be talking more about that. She did some court support up north with Axis of Love for a grower up there. And Axis of Love also, we are in touch with John. John. The 2014 ballot initiative language was filed to remain open to working with others to avoid the problems we had in 2012 where the community didn't really agree with each other. So I voted it down. I didn't like it. It added penalties. So that was my take on it. Now we're going to go to the Twitter feed, and I hope you can give us a follow, and we'll give you a follow back. Miracle cannabis oil may treat cancer, but money in the law will stand in the way of finding out for now. So you can read all these articles on my Twitter feed. There's fascinating things I've been tweeting all the time. So, help save Prissy Fields waterfront. Washington cannabis laws would eliminate home grows, forcing patients into recreational market. And the single system for medical and recreational producer and processor license, sweetheart deal for a lucky few, because it's $250,000 to grow in Nevada if you want. So not good. So the rich will get richer off the backs of the poor and sick, and so then we demand that the city declare a state of emergency and impose a 1-year freeze on evictions and rent hikes, because there's an Ellis Act. Evictions are just rampant in the city. They're evicting everyone to let people in who like to type codes, and if you don't want to type codes, they want you to leave, I suppose. That's the message we're getting. And also, I sent a message about Twitter to stop evicting us all and turning our great city into a vapid bedroom community. And I got a follow from a guy who works for Twitter with that tweet. So anyway. And a secret binding and international governance system includes 600 plus official corporate trade advisors hiding law text. So that means a Trans-Pacific Partnership is it's no gusto. If they have to hide it from us, it's not going to be good. We won't like it, trust me. And the corporate militia are going around ticketing people like crazy for just sitting there. It's just really, we're tired of it. We've risen up. We showed them at the ballot box that we don't want Ed Lee and his minions pushing us around on behalf of people who have more money than us. It's not about money. It really shouldn't be. And I talked about Avalos attacking medical cannabis and Silicon Valley.
Okay, interrupt for a second. The rally on Monday is partially also rallying support or giving us support to oppose John Avalos's closure of especially in his district. But that's part of the rally also. We're focusing on that also.
Good. I'll be there. And then let's see. The Washington State Liquor Control Board has unfortunately been put in charge of medical cannabis. And please don't do this in California. And they want to. The fascist system works better than democracy, except people hate it. That's as simple as that. There we were at Twitter, and actually my photos made it to Al Jazeera today and Reuters. Wow. So that was, and someone took a picture of me as well and posted it. So someone notified me. They were laying down. There were more police than protesters. Actually, the protesters were outnumbered by the police and the media. So we've got two more. Twitter IPO highlights big money friction in San Francisco. That's another. That's where I was in that. In this picture. Anyway. So AFPR behind 2014 California Marijuana Legalization Initiative Control Legalization and Revenue Act survey. The results are 64% of California voters want legal cannabis in 2014, so that's an all-time high, that number. So that is the news feed for today. And I want to get to my guests now. There's some things about the veterans groups that, which veterans groups actually have awarded you the prizes?
Holy Spirits and on behalf of Access of Love, I would like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to the veterans that served before, presently, and in the future for us. And as far as a woman veteran, I just want to say thank you, Sean.
I wanted to talk about the states of Illinois and Maine who make it easy and accessible for veterans to acquire medical cannabis. And we have our fellow veteran, we have a veterans group in Access of Love. We get together once a week, and James we're all patients. Several of us are patients at Fort Miley at the VA hospital, particularly Fort Miley. And if you get a medical cannabis card, if you're registered with the city, he told me this. A little notice comes up on your medical records on the computer that you are. What he mentioned is what they labeled you as an addict. And you're not a medical cannabis user. They label you as an addict. And then you have confrontations where you can lose your medicine. They won't prescribe medicine to you because they say you're an addict. And
that's why we have to look forward.
But in Illinois and Maine, they're making it very easy for veterans to obtain a medical cannabis. But here in California,
it should be legalized anyway. But that has to do with the PTSD, the ADD, or whatever they. PTSD. So all we have to do is just like, I've been using medical marijuana.
The Medical Cannabis Task Force Veterans Community crafted and passed the following letter to be voted upon and supported by the task force. This is intended not only for our relevant city agencies, but also to our own communities, medical cannabis businesses, and collectives. San Francisco prides itself on being a sanctuary city. However, this is not the case for one major population of the medical cannabis community, veterans. And federal law supersedes state laws, and veterans are caught in the middle. One major obstacle to veterans' safe access is they cannot use or have their medicine in federal housing. Locally, our sit-lie law targets homeless veterans. Nationally, on any given night, there are 107,000 veterans that are homeless. Our veterans who admit to being medical cannabis patients have been labeled addicts at our city Fort Miley Veterans Hospital. So that's over by the water, by the waterfront.
42nd and Clement.
Right.
Right, and we sent a letter over there.
Even
So-
worse, our community heard testimony to veterans being denied their psychiatric medicines if forthcoming about their medical cannabis use. The suicide rate from recent returning veterans is sky high. Actually, 22 a day are taking their lives.
Yes.
And are you hearing that on the news? All you hear about is
Sure.
healthcare.
And it's
You know?
shut down.
Yeah, and how
Yeah,
bad,
it's
the
confusion.
website doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Please, just get over yourself.
Ridiculous.
So yeah, isn't it?
If
So,
a veteran
um,
seeks
There have
psychiatric
been recent
help,
studies which have revealed medical cannabis use can be helpful and beneficial for PTSD.
Yes.
On a global level, in countries such as Israel, medical cannabis is being studied by their military for relieving that PTSD associated with combat. With the understanding of these obstacles, our Board of Supervisors passed a non-binding resolution authored by Mercurini and developed by local advocates of Axis of Love in 2007
Yes.
to promote reasonable discounts for veterans at the city-permitted MCDs. I've got footage of that, so I was there with my camera. A discounted price on market rate medical cannabis has not been proven helpful to low-income veterans who cannot afford their medicine. They're living on a fixed income of maybe about $900 a month,
If that much.
if they get that, and then how much of
Yeah,
that do they get to
ridiculous.
keep? So a discounted price on market rate medical cannabis has not been proven helpful to
who
low
can
income.
afford it at the prices that the clubs have it? Who can afford
They
it?
can't. To
Right,
helpful to
yeah,
low
that's
income
right.
veterans who cannot afford.
Ain't nobody.
We already served our time, did
And they're supposed to be non-profit.
Right.
Well, therefore, the veterans community resolved that veterans who cannot afford their medical cannabis should be assisted by their city-permitted collective to receive compassionate care, free medical cannabis. That means free. And good quality, not a bunch of shit.
And stems, we already got to pick out and all that. We deserve the best.
Yeah, all that. So, currently only a handful of collectives and cooperatives have support groups and or offer compassionate services to veterans, which includes Vapor Room, Relief, Ocean's 1944 Ocean, Waterfall Wellness, Bernal Heights, and sadly recently closed by federal government Divinity Tree and Sanctuary. So the Veterans Committee supports each permitted MCD to provide these services for low-income veterans at no charge. In respect, those that have fought and served for our freedoms, notwithstanding medical cannabis freedoms. So, yeah. So let's talk to this caller we have. Hello, caller. Welcome to SFLiberalBuzz.
Hi. Hello. You talking about veterans issues today?
We are. Please join the
I
conversation.
want to remind your audience that veterans are not allowed to take court to the federal court. They designed a kangaroo military tribunal court called the Court of Veterans Appeals that veterans never get really win in.
Veterans
Anyway,
can't
I
take
just
court
want
of
to
court?
remind people for Veterans Day that terrorists have access to the federal court system. Veterans don't. Serial killers have access to the federal court system. Veterans don't. You name it. Pedophiles have access to the federal court system. Veterans don't. So there you go. Even people that don't even live in this country. People in other countries can sue in federal court, but veterans are not allowed to. Anyway, that's some food for thought.
Thank you for your
Awesome.
call.
Yes,
Thanks for the
thank
input.
All right.
Cheers.
That's
Well,
true.
it's a parallel government, really. It's not, the Veterans Administration, the hospital they go to is separate from civilian for
It's
life.
chaos and confusion,
And
yes.
so
They
it-
took all our military bases away out here in California. I mean, come on now.
Back in the 80s.
Fort
yeah, I remember.
Miley.
Well,
I don't know.
the White House did reply to our petition, and there's some news flashes. I was given this link to Access. Veterans for Medical Cannabis is the website. And so we've got another call. Hello, caller. You're on the air with SF Liberal Buzz. Welcome.
Hello, I'm a veteran too, and I was told. There's a delay. Anyway, I was told that at Fort Miley, if I did not quit smoking marijuana, which I am a medical patient, if I did not quit smoking marijuana, they would not help me with my mental health.
Yeah.
And that was just flat hope to me.
Unfortunately, your story is very common.
Well, now
Yes,
if you seek psychiatric treatment, they tell you there's too many veterans and we can't help you.
Are you housed? Hello?
I do have housing.
So, are there problems with your housing too?
They haven't given me any problem with housing because I'm in an SRO.
Ah,
You are in San Francisco?
Yes, I am. You know me.
Okay.
so when's the last time you were at Fort Miley?
I have to go December 4th.
Hmm.
Okay.
So how much are you like having? Do you have an attorney or someone to represent you?
No, actually, what I'm doing is I got mental health at the downtown clinic. I have a psychiatrist that understands that it is a helpful medication for my PTSD.
Right.
Oh, it sure is.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they don't recognize it, but they will. I think they do recognize it lately, but it's still hard to get everyone to be on the same page with
Right.
it at once.
They don't respect it. They don't respect the veterans stuff as it is. They rather give us the pills and shoot us up and walk in zombies and everything. And
Well, what they need to do is we need our local people to move for federal legislation to change.
oh, exactly. A change
Our
will.
local politicians have to start pushing that they want this change so that our veterans can get their medicine.
Yes.
Yeah, and it didn't help to have more restrictions put upon us. And I'm surprised a progressive supervisor would actually do this.
Really.
So yeah, I'm just floored by it. And
I have buddies that came back from Vietnam that were just so tore up that it would help so much. And
Yeah.
you see the same thing now with the guys that are coming home from Afghanistan. And then forget the Marines, we're all volunteers. We volunteered to protect this country, and now we can't get our medication because our federal government is into this fixing our medication. It's a class 1 controlled substance.
It's medication. Wow.
well, thanks for serving.
Thank you so much. Yes. We all volunteered in the United States. You can give me a call and stuff, and we'll make sure that we give an additional letter to you so you have another copy of the letter that we took in, 2 years ago when we had the task force?
The task force.
Right.
Well, I read the resolution earlier.
Right, and it still didn't go through, but we're going to come together as a force.
We've got the medical cannabis
Yes.
working group, and I've got the entire thing on the YouTube channel,
Right.
Axis of Love TV. The entire meeting was recorded, and we had a list of demands at the very last 10 minutes of part 2. So if you look at you don't have to watch the whole hour. Just watch the last 10 minutes of part 2 on Axis of Love TV, Medical Cannabis Working Group. It'll be, it was very informative actually. It was demanding, that we stop this moratorium on cannabis dispensaries because we don't have more crime around them, we have less crime. The crime is reduced, and it's basically just another Jim Crow law for poor people and people who use cannabis as an alternate medicine. People with an open mind, maybe.
Yes.
Or like to try something beside because a
Something
lot of
more
people
natural and less toxic.
Yes.
Because medicines, the pills you get have side effects. You read the side effects and you just
Oh my God, the side effects. No, we're not going to go through
medical
that.
cannabis is a natural medicine.
Well, now remember to come to the rally at Monday at 12 noon.
Oh, I thought it was 420.
Is it 4:20? Monday, 4:20, City Hall.
The class of people that you're discriminating against, it's the same rhetoric. It's the same thing, whether it's blacks, whether it's Jews, whether it's cannabis dispensaries,
LGBT
LGBT.
people. Right,
Yeah.
We all somehow magically make
Those
their
people.
property devalue.
we're uncomfortable with them, so we don't want them here.
Right.
How could they sneak that kind of thing through without public comment otherwise? It's terrible.
He tried real hard.
Oh, yeah.
He was not liking seeing all of us
Trust
there.
him.
But see, here's the thing, like, suppose he'd made those
All of
remarks,
us there, he was like,
Oh, yeah, I got mad.
uses it all.
suppose he'd made those remarks about black-owned businesses instead of cannabis dispensaries. And you
Well,
think about,
then
like,
those are
feeling of
some of the things
unease,
that we-
you know, too many of them in the district,
Yeah.
like, what the heck are you talking about, man? Like,
Well, I actually
A
think
Republican up there, I don't
Yeah.
know.
what Matt Cohen said about how they used to not want Jewish people to move into neighborhoods because they
Right.
thought
There you go.
we'd bring property values down. Once Avalos to be liaison
I'm gonna get him to say those people.
to
I would just get him to say that. Just get those words out of his mouth. You know?
board.
Refer to us as those people.
Attorney Roberts and Anthony, meeting adjourned, will update is that SF wants Avalos to be liaison to the board in regards to green zone. I think that's appalling.
Yeah, you don't change the mind of a bigot. You just,
I think
you
that
just,
we will
you just
have
don't.
Scott Wingers.
He was really.
He's just a bigot. That
So,
period.
yeah, we